Greetings. Thank you for joining me for my 9th annual State of the University address. As you know, we have never held this address in a virtual format. However, for everyone's health and safety, we must respect the continued threat of the coronavirus. That said, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge how much I miss the opportunity to gather in person with you, our incredible university community of faculty, student staff, alumni, and friends. Because of you, we are weathering this public health crisis with uncommon resilience and adaptability. Because of you, in an unprecedented time, we are seizing unprecedented opportunities to serve the greater good. To each and every one of you, thank you for rising to the challenges of the past 10 months. Thanks to you, I am proud to report that 175 years after UB's founding, the state of our university remains strong in spite of these challenges. 10 months ago, none of us could have imagined how much this pandemic would have upended our lives. That Zoom would become standard of meetings and classes. That face masks would become standard attire. Or that terms like social distancing would become standard in our vernacular. Since the first report of a pneumonia of unknown cause on the last day of 2019 to the more than 32 million cases of COVID-19 reported to date, the pandemic has tested resolve, tapped reserves, and toppled expectations. By far, it has taken the greatest toll on human life, more than 1 million lives to date. As a university community, we mourn them all, including members of our own UB family. While UB has dealt with many periods of uncertainty and upheaval throughout its history, I would contend that 2020 has proven exceptional in this regard. And yet, I would contend the response of our students, faculty, and staff has proven equally exceptional. From March, when we transitioned 4,000 courses to a remote learning format within 10 days, to May, when we converted UB's 174th commencement exercises to a virtual celebration, to a fall semester that has seen an 87% reduction in classroom density. Our first priority has always been providing our students with a transformative educational experience while ensuring the health and safety of our university community. Allow me to underscore my commitment to keeping our campus and the communities in which we reside safe. As I walk across campus and see our students, faculty, and staff complying with UB's health and safety protocols, I'm so grateful that you share this commitment. These protocols follow evidence-based research, guidance from the Centers for Disease Control, and the expertise of our faculty in infectious disease and public health. These same faculty and many more across our disciplines have played a key role in the response of COVID-19 pandemic. Even in the confusing early days of the crisis, many of our faculty members had already pivoted their research to this complex problem. And not only our faculty. Throughout the pandemic, our entire university community has doubled down on our mission-driven priority to contribute to the welfare and well-being of the communities we serve. This is how a great public research university responds in time of crisis, not by wringing our hands, but by rolling up our sleeves.
UB researchers are conducting 52 studies right now related to the pandemic, looking at new ways to test for coronavirus, new ways to prevent coronavirus infection, and then also interventional clinical trials. I think some of the more promising studies are the studies that are looking at how the virus is transmitted in our community, also studies that are looking at new treatments. Everyone's paying a lot of attention to clinical research, nationally and locally. This is what is going to contribute importantly to the solution to the pandemic.
I would just see on the news that there was a huge nursing shortage. People were coming from around the country because we were in New York City, the hardest hit place. So I'm healthy, I can work part-time, I can do this. It was really hard at the time to have 10 to 12 patients all for you by yourself in this suit, doing all that care. But then it made me realize that these people are so strong because they didn't give up.
About 20% of the people that become infected with COVID-19 become seriously ill and require care in an intensive care unit. And once they start to recover, there's a very high probability that they may have something known as post-intensive care syndrome. And when they have these problems, they often go unrecognized. So in our work, we're aiming to raise awareness in community-based providers and home health care providers so that they can screen individuals and be sure that they get the services and care that they need.
At the beginning of the pandemic in March, we were struck by how quickly hand sanitizer disappeared from the store shelves. We gave away a small batch one weekend, and then based on the response, we decided to call on our friends on the wine trail, and they generously donated over 2,000 gallons of wine, which we then were able to convert into about over 200 gallons of hand sanitizer.
We have 3D printed a ton of PPE that has been complimentary and available to the community here in Western New York. A lot of it has gone to dental students, residents, dentists, and also the providers at the hospitals. I have a biotechnology background, a lot of research experience, so it's been really, really cool just applying everything I've learned in the past into this project. It is a student-run group, so being one of the leaders has been really exciting.
Many thanks to all of the members of our university community for your response, particularly our clinical faculty, fellows, residents, and students serving the front line of care. As you just saw in the video, even when the world goes on pause, our mission persists. We continue to harness our research and scholarship for the greater good. In so doing, we are not only solving problems related to the pandemic, we are enhancing quality of life through our work in climate change, social and economic justice, and the creative arts and literary expression. In the same vein, our alumni are contributing to the social, cultural, and economic vibrancy of our region and our world. For example, a startup co-founded by UB alumni, which specializes in technology that allows boats to self-navigate, is now using the same technology to streamline the process of taking temperatures in the workplace. Last year, an online automobile auction site co-founded by a UB alumnus achieved the rare benchmark of being valued at $1 billion, making it Buffalo's first unicorn. We are so proud of the members of our alumni community, more than 270,000 strong around the globe, who are leading the world in areas such as healthcare, journalism, marketing, and the arts. Despite our university's accomplishments, advancing the ideals of higher education amid a public health crisis has proved trying on every front. COVID-19 has put an extreme strain on both our state's and UB's finances. And even before contending with economic fallout from COVID, UB, like other public higher education institutions, already faced a number of financial burdens. In our case, these included new unfunded mandates with limited resources. Based on the state budget deficit, we have anticipated reduction in our direct state tax support. and SUNY is projecting that these reductions could range from 20 to 25%. That equates to some $30 million to $40 million. From March to June, the first quarter of this fiscal year, we reduced expenditure by 22.8% from the previous fiscal year. In addition to the projected reduction to our state operating budget, we have also experienced revenue loss in housing and auxiliary services with the reduction of students living on campus, and tuition, especially with the decrease in undergraduate and graduate international student enrollment. On a bright note, our overall enrollment was actually higher than last year. However, we are still due $19.2 million from the state for the previous fiscal year. Clearly, this is a serious financial situation for our state and for UB, and we anticipate this financial strain for the foreseeable future. That said, our university was on sound financial footing when the pandemic began, and we will be on sound financial footing when the pandemic is behind us. That is why every decanal and divisional unit has been assessed a one-time 10% reduction to state operating budgets for the 2021 fiscal year. In addition to this one-time reduction, we have directed units to significantly reduce all state expenditures. That is why we have instituted a hiring pause across all funding sources. While we have taken these steps, we also continue to fiercely advocate for the public good that our great public research university serves. It is our collective imperative to emerge from this crisis a stronger, more resilient institution. Last year, during my State of the University address, I announced our ambition to situate UB among the top 25 public research universities within the next decade. As I said then, and have echoed many times since, top 25 ambition has nothing to do with pride. It has everything to do with the impact. Specifically, it is about demonstrating our relevance and impact on contemporary society through our research, our education, and our engagement with the communities we serve. Despite the obstacles we all have faced this year, UB continues on our upward trajectory. Allow me to share new proof points. Over the past decade, UB has risen in the ranks 24 spots, more than any peer public university in the AAU. Over the past decade and a half, our sponsored research expenditures have risen from $129 to $178 million. We continue to experience an increase in our selectivity and the enrollment of underrepresented minority students. And once at UB, our students shine on the national and international stage. During the past academic year, UB's recipients of prestigious awards and scholarships have included National Science Foundation Graduate Fellows, Boren Scholars, and Goldwater, Fulbright, and Critical Languages Scholars. Likewise, our faculty have enhanced their national and international profile with cutting-edge scholarship, research, and creative work. As a result, they have been recognized by the likes of the Academy of Arts and Sciences, the National Endowment for the Humanities, the American Association for the Advancement of Science, and the Fulbright Foundation. What's more, over the past academic year, 7 UB faculty were promoted to the rank of SUNY Distinguished Professor. That brings the total number of UB faculty who have achieved this rank over the past 13 years to 81. In the number of faculty who have achieved the rank of SUNY Distinguished Professor, UB leads in SUNY system. We continue to recruit highly promising and accomplished faculty to UB. In 2020, we hired 115 new full-time faculty, of whom 77 are tenure track. That's a 12% overall increase from last year. We have been so pleased to see our faculty's innovative solutions making such a positive impact on the economic vitality of Western New York. This is evident in the rising number of UB startups and spin-offs in our region. In fact, in the past decade, 71 startups formed as a result of our UB talent and technology. Of those, an impressive 32 formed just in the past year. To illustrate some of the recent successes of these ventures, one startup has been awarded an NIH grant to pursue a vaccine against HIV. Another, named one of the top 10 medical device startups to watch in 2020, received the prestigious Breakthrough Devices designation from the FDA. Still another is now a publicly traded company that is developing cancer treatments and employing nearly 500 people worldwide, including more than 100 in Buffalo. Our faculty's dedicated work has also resulted in UB recently receiving a number of highly selective research awards. Our School of Pharmacy and Pharmaceutical Sciences was awarded 4 federal research grants totaling more than $10 million to seek answers to health concerns, including obesity and life-threatening infections. Our School of Nursing received a nearly $2.5 million research award to mitigate the pandemic impact on mental health in underrepresented communities. During the spring 2020 semester, UB was awarded a $3 million grant from the Mellon Foundation in support of Indigenous studies. With this extremely competitive Mellon Award, we are building on UB's 50-year tradition of Indigenous scholarship while addressing issues central to Indigenous life in our region. Our spring semester also saw the NIH award UB a 5-year, $21.7 million renewal of our Clinical and Translational Science Award. Since the original CTSA, we have tripled the number of clinical trials we perform and doubled the number of underrepresented minorities participating. Dovetailing with this work, last December, we launched UB's Community Health Equity Research Institute. In collaboration with our community partners, our institute is confronting one of Buffalo's most entrenched problems, namely race-based health disparities. This institute is rooted in a cherished concept of human rights, specifically that all of our neighbors deserve the right to a bright, healthy future. Although health inequities have been embedded in our country for centuries, the COVID-19 pandemic has brought them into sharp relief. This public health crisis has created a moment of reckoning for our country as we grapple with social injustice and systemic racism. At the same time, it is creating an opportunity for genuine societal transformation. The social movement that emerged following the killing of George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, Daniel Prude, and many other men and women of color has amplified our university's call to address injustice, racism, and violence. We know we can affect the real and meaningful change. More than ever, UB should serve as a bastion of hope and a community of action compelled by the greater good.
It all started in our last block of the first year, and that's when the killing of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor happened. It was traumatizing to say the very least.
I am a medical student
at the Jacobs School of Medicine.
The point of the video was to get a message across, talk about the inequities that African Americans and Black people face in our society as it stands.
Police violence is a leading cause of death
for Black young men in the United States.
We as minorities who are in medicine cannot do it alone. We need allies. We need people who could advocate for us too. That way we could achieve a collective goal, which is to, propagate the health and well-being of people in our community, in our Buffalo community.
It literally broke my heart to think about the pain that the African American community is in right now. And then thinking about my students coming back to campus after a summer like what we had. So we came up with this idea of creating this poster project. Each student contributed something in their own words, saying why Black lives mattered to them. I couldn't believe how powerful they were. We do it to make students know that each one of them is so important to us as a community here.
Mary Talbert was a social activist. She was a person who saw injustice anywhere and used her voice, used her actions to alleviate those oppressive forces, systemic racism, sexism. She fought for suffrage. This summer, there was an initiative to change the names of some buildings or roadways to honor those persons who essentially had been disfranchised, not recognized. And I think to have a person of Mary Talbert's stature right here in the city of Buffalo should be a symbol of what can take place within the boundaries of the university.
The knowledge that we are creating at the university is a knowledge for everybody. It should be created, it should be taught by individuals that represent the universe that surrounds us. We have a number of underrepresented minorities at the professor level that is relatively low. That is a problem. There are more individuals that now have raised their voice. The university is listening and is listening carefully. And then we discuss how we can address the issue of increasing the underrepresented minorities in the academia.
There's never been a more critical time to launch the Department of Indigenous Studies here at University at Buffalo so that we can build a better understanding and awareness of Indigenous geographies, history, knowledge, culture, as well as the ways in which Indigenous people have been systemically marginalized. Indigenous knowledge provides this form of intellectual expertise that can be applied and used to offer unique understandings and solutions to some of the world's most pressing problems.
As a reaffirmation of our values, our university is actively working to realize the ideals of social justice. This academic year, we welcomed our inaugural cohort of Diversity Innovation Distinguished Visiting Scholars to UB. Through this program, believed to be the largest, most comprehensive of its kind in the country, these exceptionally accomplished scholars are leveraging their scholarship, creative endeavors, and teaching to advance diversity, equity, and inclusion at UB. We have also purposefully strengthened our community partnership to make an even greater societal impact. Engaging with Western New York, especially the city of Buffalo, remains a top priority for UB. For example, over the next 3 years, our new UB Teacher Residency Program in the Graduate School of Education is expected to graduate 70 new teachers, all of whom will go on to teach in the Buffalo Public Schools. And in the law school, the just established Criminal Justice Advocacy Clinic will represent imprisoned survivors of domestic violence. In addition to these social justice initiatives, over the summer, I formed the University Police Advisory Committee to establish awareness of issues in contravention of a safe and welcoming inclusive environment, to provide a forum for collaboration regarding fair, equitable, effective police practices, and to recommend solutions when concerns arise. I also convened the President's Advisory Council on Race. This dedicated group of faculty, staff, students, and alumni has been addressing issues of race and culture. to guide and shape UB's programs, policies, activities, and traditions. After several months of robust discussions, the Council presented recommendations, a sampling of which include applying campus-wide holistic admissions to improve the enrollment of underrepresented minority students, requiring UB undergraduates to take a course on anti-racism, deploying a university-wide mentorship program for students, researchers of color, and increasing the number of underrepresented faculty, staff, and senior leadership to meet or exceed that of our AAU peers. We're extremely grateful for the Council's thoughtful recommendations. We're continuing our discussion with the Council and are developing a process of implementation. In addition to the Council's ongoing work, our university has been hosting a series of lectures and town halls exploring structural transformation. Not surprisingly, some of these conversations have centered on historical honorific namings. Clearly, these namings hold important symbolic value. We want to ensure that these symbols align with our identity as a diverse, inclusive scholarly community. As we consider these symbols, we have no intention of erasing our history. However, we can purposefully determine whom we want to honor in this way and in this time. In renaming Putnam Way to Mary Talbot Way, we hope to shed light on a progressive civil rights pioneer, who she was and what she stood for. Coincidentally, our university community held a virtual celebration of Talbot's legacy less than a week after the death of Supreme Court Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I found it fitting and poignant to be paying tribute to a historic champion of the disenfranchised who paved the way for a contemporary champion of the disenfranchised. Naturally, my thoughts are turned to Justice Ginsburg's visit to UB last year. We see the values of Ginsburg, Talbot, and others who have left their imprint on UB embodied in our accomplished and driven students. Our students who are documenting the experience of migrant domestic workers before and during the pandemic, inspiring children from underrepresented minority communities to pursue careers in STEM, and developing prosthetic devices for people who have lost hands and fingers to illness, accident, natural disasters, or war. Our students never fail to impress and inspire me with their determination to make a difference. Now, more than ever before, the public research university is being called upon to solve the most complex issues of our times. Problems including climate change, public health, the economy, educational reform. In the face of dwindling state resources, it is clear that philanthropy will play an even more pivotal role in helping us achieve our mission-driven priorities, and by consequence, our top 25 ambition. 2.5 years ago, UB officially launched our Boldly Buffalo campaign. Since then, this ambitious campaign has helped us further invest in our world-class faculty, make our transformative education more accessible, and build and modernize the places where our students learn, discover, and create. I have been truly inspired to see our extended UB family embracing our bold goals. In fact, since our campaign began, donors have supported 216 endowed scholarships and 26 endowed chairs and professorships. What's more, this campaign has transformed the physical face of our university. And during the pandemic, we saw nearly 2,000 donors come to the aid of our most vulnerable students by contributing over $340,000 to our emergency fund. My heartfelt thanks and gratitude to our campaign volunteers, faculty, staff, and friends. All of you are helping us achieve our historic goals. In reflecting on our university's 175th anniversary, I came across a report written by our university's 7th Chancellor, Samuel Capon. One passage in particular stood out. In it, Capon wrote, "A university is not a group of buildings. It is a group of persons assembled for the purpose of passing on knowledge and for the creation of new knowledge." Since the origins of our university, our students, faculty, and staff have always constituted the heart of UB. UB has always been defined by our community's intellect, innovation, and contribution to humanity. And it will continue to be for the next 175 years and beyond. To all of you who play a critical role in making UB the great public research university it is today and will always be, thank you.